Welcome to the Unearthed Man podcast, the journey to becoming a conscious man. Hey all, Stephen here and welcome to episode 73 of the Unearthed Man podcast. So, I really enjoyed the chat with Bill last week, given that I align with his views around energy and energetic connections, with a particular focus on tapping into the magic contained within the universe. I hope you also enjoyed the conversation. Now, I had the opportunity to do two firsts last week. First one was to attend a performance at the Opera House in Sydney, and the second one was to attend an all-Aboriginal dance performance by the Bangarra Dance Company. The show was called Udia. Now, Udia is a ceremonial affirmation of history and heritage. Pretty much it is we are memory, glimpsed through simmering light on water, a story place where black oaks stand watch, carved into trees and painted on rocks, north, south, east, west, a brittle landscape of life and loss. At Udia, stories hover in the sky. The stars reveal a divine songline stretching between earth and sky. Udia awakens the earth and sky worlds to tell the story of the Anangu people of the Great Victorian Desert. Udia explores the moment traditional life collided with the industrial ambition of a growing nation. In 1917, the two halves of the Transcontinental Railway met at the precious water soak on the edge of the Nullarbor, Yuldi Kapi. Great metal serpents scarred the landscape, draining all water from the sacred soak. Then came the black mist of the atomic testing at Maralinga, forcing the Anangu people to leave their desert homelands where they had lived for millennia. Their memories lay scattered like the Anangu people displaced from their home, remnants of colonial progress are swallowed by sand. But the Anangu endure, determined to keep strong their knowledge systems of land and sky, honouring their eternal bonds of kinship between people and place. And it is on this point I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this unceded land and pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Now, let's get into today's episode. So, this episode, there is no guest, it is just me, because I'm going to let you know we are having a mid-season break. So I've had a lot going on this year and, like last year I took the whole year off. It's been a lot going on and there's a lot of energy and time and space needs to go into creating the podcast. Given that I'm working on the podcast, we've got the beautiful Unearthed Men community, I've got my 6-week program, and in the background I'm actually building a new 8-week program that I'm going to be working with men on, and I'll be able to talk through some of the elements that we're actually doing. And on top of that, I have a day job that I actually do that I'm working through that is actually also consuming time and space. So for me, I'm just going to take 6 to 8 weeks off, give a break from interviewing men. As much as I love that and I'm passionate, I get so energized by jumping onto a call with all these beautiful men. For now, it's time to just have a bit of a break. But before we jump into that break, I'm just going to let you know what this last 6 months has looked like for me, where I'm at, my mindset, and just a few other thoughts about how we want to move forward. Now, to kick off, and whether this is deemed controversial or not, I ask everyone who's listening to this, if you're in Australia, we have a referendum coming up at the end of the year. It's called The Voice, and it's about putting into the Constitution the ability for having an Aboriginal voice built into the Constitution within Australia. I beg you, please do your research. We know what happened coming out of COVID. We know how manipulated all the social media environments became to tell a narrative, to tell a story that suited governments, that suited pharmaceuticals, that suited organisations. Let's not forget, the governments that we run are quasi-corporations. Now, you can go down that rabbit hole as to whether they're true corporations or not, but ultimately they are quasi-corporations. Anytime a government promotes and steps into this space and then has other people who actually are promoting it, then I say start to get very suspicious. Personally, I'm spending a lot of time actually talking with and connecting with Indigenous peoples. I'm actually going out and actively asking the Indigenous people So let's not do it on behalf of them. I truly encourage every person, and it's easy to find Indigenous people, doesn't matter where you are. Like, you've just got to look up. Most of them have their own corporations. Most of them are available. You probably work with a lot of people. Now, when you look around, you start asking the questions. There are communities upon communities who don't even know the referendum's taking place, who don't even know what the referendum actually means and what the impact is to them and their lives in these communities. Now, these are communities that are within suburban areas. These are also communities that are very remote where nothing's going on. Again, where the message is isolated and the message is very, I'd say, manipulated. So actively go out there. Just be aware your social media channels are built on algorithms to support the bias you already have. If your intent is to vote yes and you are looking at that, every single thing that comes up in your social media channel, in your Google searches and everything, will actually support the rationale behind a yes. If you intend to say no, everything that will come up in your feed is all the reasons why you would say no. And so all I implore everyone out there is to actively understand how algorithm bias works, how your own personal bias works, and actively go out and seek conversations so that you are making a truly informed decision. Here is what they're selling to you. If you say no, you are a racist. That, and excuse the language, is fucked. It is wrong, and it is fucked, and it's manipulative. They are using a racism card to potentially force you into a decision because you don't want to be the person that said, I don't want to have a voice, an Aboriginal voice in Parliament. You need to go back and do your research. This country, as I said before, is unceded land. There is not a treaty in this country. Unlike other countries where the Indigenous did sign treaties with the governments, in Australia, in any of the states or territories, this has never taken place. And do not forget, Australia, pre-colonisation, was the same as Europe. It was made up of 250 plus individual nations with individual languages. And those languages varied pretty much within 100 metres of each other. It's no different if you go to England and the accents are so different, just town to town as you go along. Just think about that in this country. Now, the government has not gone out to those 250 plus people and asked them, do you want to have this? And so all I'm going to say to you is have a think about what's going on. Now, you don't have to tell people how you vote, but I will say, do your research, understand what's going on in this country. As soon as you write something into a constitution, it can be deemed as treaty or consent or the fact that this has now been signed off, and legally this land that is unceded potentially could become ceded. Now, the other thing, let's move us apart from the Aboriginal or the Indigenous stuff that's happening. There's a whole lot of other rules that actually sits in this constitution change. It's not just about giving a voice to an Aboriginal person. Do your research and go and actually have a look at what are the other amendments that they are actually looking to make within the Constitution as you actually turn around and say yes. So again, the marketing message is we want Indigenous people to have a voice in the Constitution in Parliament. Great marketing message. No different to Bose headphones are better than Audio Technica or whatever else. Like if you're there and you're going to believe all the marketing messages, you will sign on to anything without any thought or at any consideration. What you are signing on to is a whole lot of other clauses that sit underneath this one marketing clause they're doing. So that's where I'm going to start in relation to this break is, given that, I've recently gone and seen Udia. I've actually seen what's happening. I've actually been actively talking to a lot of my friends who are Indigenous. I've been actively seeking out people online just to understand where the balance is and where the bias is. And most of my research, and it could be biased, as I said, but most of my research would say the government has not consulted the Indigenous people about this. It is something they feel that they want to do. And the question is, why? If the Indigenous don't want it, why are you actually doing it? And what are you going to get out of it? And what does this mean for this country? So anyway, that's a bit of a rant. Now, you might have actually decided, based off the back of that, that you've actually, no longer going to listen to the podcast, or that's it, you actually hung up halfway through, which is a pity because you're going to actually miss out on the rest of what has been going on. So since getting back into season 3, and trust me, I loved doing the podcast. I love doing the podcast. The ability to sit down with men and just have that beautiful conversation and energetic connection. And just so you know, since the start of the podcast for this year, I've interviewed 19 men. 19 amazing, beautiful men that have been willing to share their stories. And I've loved every part of those stories and where they've gone along. On top of that, I've been able to connect into another group which supports men and women called Amend. Now, I've talked about Amend a few times, and I've had Wah on the podcast. I've also had two on the podcast as well. And so, we spoke about that. So I've deepened my connection in with them. They held 2 workshops down here in Melbourne, or down in Victoria where I'm based. The first one was a men's workshop, and the second one was a women's workshop. I had the privilege of being asked to come along and hold support. Now, the founder, Wah, only wants people to hold support who he knows he can trust, who he knows is doing the deep work, and is there to actually can hold that, support those people as they're going through their healing journey. So to be given that opportunity and that privilege was immense for me. And to watch, I think we had 50 odd men do the men's workshop and 29 women do the females workshop. It was such a beautiful experience to see them express their emotion, for them to go through this journey and understand where they're at. And now knowing that, potentially their lives are on a different pathway and a different journey as they actually start to move forward. So that's super exciting to have been involved with that. And moving forward, I'm looking to do more and more collaborations with the Amend group. And so like always, I don't care who you do your work with. Go and find the Amend movement. Go and sign up to their programs. Come and work with me. Go and find Gathering Men. It doesn't really worry me where you go. Obviously, I'd love you to work with me because I think I have a lot of healing that I can provide. But outside that, just as men, particularly men that are listening into this, you need to do the work. Even if you don't think you do, you truly do need to work. There's a whole lot of shit you're holding on to from when you were growing up that will keep popping up in your life. And there's a saying, what you resist persists. And when you see these patterns always coming up, that's what's actually going to take place. So into my own business front, what's been happening? So at the start of the year, I basically ran an 8-week program and had 3 men go through that, which is an amazing experience to be able to hold space, see them actually grow as they went through their journey, watch them where they started and saw at the end where they've gone, their demeanor, they were quite emotional, they were quite flat. You could see, there wasn't a lot of life in their eyes and struggled to smile and laugh to the end. Powerful, energetic, upbeat performing men. And in most cases, these men have actually gone on to a beautiful journey. One's got a brand new role. Another one's got a great relationship with his family. A third man actually went on a journey back overseas to do some closure. So there's just been some really great outcomes that have come out of this program. And I've loved pulling that together and working with those. And on that point, my next 8-week program actually starts pretty much this week, if you're listening in on this podcast. And again, I got 3 or 4 men, I can't remember in total, but we're actually about to go on another amazing journey with these men as we actually go through 8 weeks. And again, I'm just really looking forward to being able to guide these men. All I do is strip away the things that are holding them back. All I do is look at them and say, hey, I called this and I'm calling you out on that and I'm calling you out on this. These are the belief systems you've got that are holding you back. I just help them strip away the layers. And by the time we get to the end, again, it's just this beautiful, amazing experience. And I'm looking forward to see where these men go on the next 8 weeks. What I also put out there this year was actually I ran a retreat. I ran a overnight retreat. I have never done it before. And this is part of my year, which is like, I'm trying things. I'm trying to see what works. I'm trying new initiatives and new ideas. I've been to some retreats, so I've actually witnessed to what takes place. And now for me, I got the chance to actually facilitate one. We had 9 men come along and it was a beautiful weekend. It was in May, and in May down here in the surf coast down where I live, it's cold. There was a bit of rain, but 9 men turned up. We all pitched our tents. We all sat around. We had food. We all went through the different exercises. And again, the feedback from the men was I really want to come and do this again. That was such an amazing experience. I didn't realize how healing that was going to be. And so the feedback with me was really good. We had a really nice balance, so it wasn't action-packed. It was always an hour or so in between activities. Our last activity finished by about 6 o'clock on the Saturday night, so we all got to sit around as men and share a meal and have some deep conversations. By 9 o'clock, everyone was in bed because we're up again the next morning, 6 a.m., sunrise, saw the sun come up, saw the moon, funny enough, go down, which is beautiful because it was a full moon. And then we went for a dip in the ocean, which was just, again, a beautiful experience. And the universe has interesting ways to help us go along this path. So I didn't realize, but the weekend I booked was actually the weekend of a full moon. And the significance behind a full moon is it's the opportunity to let go of the past. What are those things you're holding on to, and can you let them go? And that's what we went through. So we had these great little forgiveness exercises and these other powerful exercises we went through. So probably later in the year when it's got a bit warmer, so maybe October into November, when we know it's going to warm up again, I'll definitely be running another retreat, probably a similar location. And again, if you're down here in Victoria or you want to fly down and be part of the Unearthed Men retreat, would love to have you come along. I'm not doing it expensive. They're fairly cheap retreats. I think the last one I charged was $45. That was to cover pretty much the cost of the accommodation. So these are going to be pretty cheap retreats. Come on down. Would love to have you there. So that was an amazing experience for us to be able to go through that. The Unearthed Men community. So I put a call out December last year. Hey, who wants to jump on a call to have men supporting men? We are now 60 plus people as part of this community. We do twice weekly check-ins, 2-word Tuesday, which is all about how people are feeling, their emotions, and we do wins and lessons on a Friday, and then we do a Monday night call once a month. It's the last Monday of every month. And regularly, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 guys have been jumping in, and it's been beautiful. And every now and then, as an example, I know there's a guy who just goes, I'm part of the community, I love being part of the community, but I'm not active. He just jumped in at one point and said, hey guys, a friend of mine committed suicide. There's another great man that we've actually lost. He had a lot of challenges, and this is what happened. I'm just jumping in this community to say, this is how I'm feeling, this is what's going on. I know I've got you. I know you've got my back. I know you're sending me much love, and that's all he needed. And that's what the community is about. People don't have to be fully active all the time in the community. It's just knowing that you've got a group of men available that anytime you actually jump on a WhatsApp or you grab a call, that the man's going to pick up the phone and go, hey, bro, what's going on? What can I do for you? How can I support you? And that's what the beautiful thing is. So that community is continuing to grow, and I still want it to grow moving forward. On top of that, as I said, I keep trying different things this year. So what I did was that I actually put out and said, hey, who would like some free coaching? I'm going to offer 4 hours over 4 nights, and we're just going to do some free coaching. So we jumped on a call Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night for an hour, and I ran some men through some coaching experience. The great thing about that was there was 2 or 3 men from the community jumped in, but there was about 6 to 8 men who were not part of the community, saw it and said, I'm jumping in, or their partners saw it and said, I think this would be great for you. So I think nearly 50 to 60% of the men, their partner said, I think you should jump on these 4 hours worth of calls. And they did. And they lent in. And it was a beautiful experience. And I've been out there chatting with them now. And some of those men are coming in to do the program. Some of them are just going to jump online, and some are part of the community. But that's what it was all about. And so again, it was a great learning experience for me. So moving forward, what I'm actually going to start to do is probably every second month, I'm going to run 3 hours. So 2 nights, 1.5 hours per night, and just do some free coaching. Why? Because I just saw the change in men. I saw what's going on. I saw the interactions I have with them. I don't care that they don't come and sign up to my program. I don't care that they come and invest in themselves financially. What I did see is the messages coming back out. My life has changed just by doing those 4 hours. How I see things has changed by doing 4 hours. My interaction with my partner has changed by doing those 4 hours. That fills my heart. The financial rewards, the universe will work out at some point in time where if it feels it wants to give me financial rewards. I can tell you now, I will negotiate with any man at any point in time to get a price point that has him develop and change his life. There are many ways we can do it. Money is just one form of energy. Referring people, doing things like testimonials, jumping in and being an active part of a community themselves, providing service. This is just all energy. Money in our bank account is just a form of energy, but we track our lives by it. But if we stop tracking our lives and our success by that dollar amount in our bank account, and we tracked it by the impact we're having on the community, the impact we're having on the people around us from a positive point of view, then that for me, that's true abundance. That's true gratitude. And that's where we get to move forward in this beautiful life that we're living, because we can offer this service to all these amazing men as we actually go along. So that 4-day, 4-hour was absolutely fantastic. As I said earlier, I have connected with the guys with Amend. It wasn't just WA and 2, but it was actually all the other guys in the support crew. And at the back of that, it was like, hey, there's this festival, spiritual festival up in Queensland. It's called Pranafest. Who's in? Let's go. And I'm like, sure, I'm in. Now, I'm going to be very open and honest. This was a challenging conversation for me to have with Jackie, my wife. Why? Because I wanted to go this on my own. I've never been to a festival, let alone a festival on my own. And, Jackie and I are working through, like all couples do, we're at different parts in our relationship and we're working through some items at the moment. This was going to be challenging for both of us, for me to be away at this festival, for Jackie to allow me to go away for the festival. But we also knew deep down this was part of our independent growth pattern that we needed to go through. So again, we're slowly breaking out of this world of codependence so we can actually constantly choose each other every day. But I leant into the conversation. Rather than avoiding it, I leant into it and said, here's what I want to do. Here's why I would like to do this. And here's what I feel I'm going to get out of it. Now, the challenge was I didn't think I'd have reception. As it turned out, I did have reception, so I could keep checking in with Jackie. Now, were some of those conversations, as I was checking with her, challenging? Yes. Did I have to set some boundaries? Absolutely. Did Jackie set some boundaries? Yes, she did. And did she raise some concerns? Sure. But it was about how we went about the conversations. It wasn't an accusational piece. It was actually just I hear where you are. And I kept asking the question, where does love come from? And she was in the same boat. Where would love come from this, knowing that this was part of our growth journey? And we've come out the other side of that, again, stronger as a partnership, stronger as a couple, and stronger as two independent people who now choose to continue to be with each other. Does that mean we solved everything? No. But does it mean that we've actually been able to make another step forward? Absolutely. And that was such a beautiful thing for that. And so off the back of that, I suppose part of the reason why I did that is Matt Holson, who is part of the Unearthed Man community, and he's my partner in running the Unearthed Men community. One of the things that we spoke about was naming your year. Now, I've never done it before. I've had goals, but I've never named my year. So my naming for this year was about connection. And it's connection into multiple different areas of my life. So one of the areas that was about connection with community and connection back with men. So I've got the Unearthed Men community that gives me connection. I've got the Amend group and the Amend support group that I worked with as part of those workshops. And so I've actually now got my own community, but I've also lent outside of that. There's part of me growing my own business. I've signed into a new set of software. It's run by Preston Smiles, but I get to jump on calls with this other community, mainly based out of the US, but I get to connect with them. So I've got this coaching community. I've got my local community. So for me, this is part of that whole ongoing connection of where I'm actually now not running as a lone wolf. I'm not running on my own. I'm actually asking for help. And I'm leaning out, which is one of the things that took place recently as to why I'm going to revamp my 8-week program, because off the back of that community, I've made a really beautiful connection with a guy named Gerald, and Gerald's helping me actually work my way through what does my business need to look like so I can be better at offering service to men and have more men coming through and getting the outcome of that service I can offer. If I hadn't lent into this space of community, then that wouldn't have actually taken place. So that's part of it. But there's also other elements, like me connecting spiritually. Like, what's the connection I have spiritually in relation to the universe, in relation to creator, guardian angels, guiding spirits? And I've been deepening my connection, getting out on the sand, walking out in the water, in the cold ocean, all of these things about connecting in with this universe that's around us, walking around bare feet wherever I can, and that's connecting. And the last part of what I'm doing is connecting with my body. So I've gone through and done an 8-week liver cleanse, which was an amazing experience. Went through, totally cleansed my body, but guess what happened? I went back to all the old patterns. I've gone back to eating pizzas. I've gone back to eating hot chips, back to eating burgers. For 8 weeks, I had this beautiful eating pattern. And dinner was actually veggie broth and stewed apples or stewed bananas. And it was this beautiful dinner and food that we're having. But we see all our old patterns start to play out again. But for me, this year is like, okay, I can hear you, I can see your old pattern, but I'm not going to play that game. So I've signed up to another guy who was on the podcast, Steve Capp, ex-Australian bodybuilding champion. Why would I not talk with the best people out there from a coaching point of view? And he still is, built like a brick shit house, to be honest. So I've signed Steve up as to be my health coach, my body coach. And I'm about to go on a 16-week journey with Steve to go from, because one of the things I said this year is I want to get rid of my dad bod. Now, I know we're at July. I've got 6 months to go. I had to go through the inner cleansing first. I had to build the community. I had to build these things first. Now I'm actually on the space of being able to work on my physical body. And so pretty much he's writing up a program at the moment. And so over the next 16 weeks, I get to hit the gym and I get to see some transformation in my body. Now, I see this as a long-term thing, not just the next 16 weeks. I see this as a 32-week or even longer, even a 12-month or 18-month gig. And who knows? Who knows what you may see in the next 12 to 18 months in relation to me, my body, and my transformation. But again, it's because of that theme about connecting back into this vessel that carries my spirit on every given day and enables me to be in this position to provide service to men and to provide what's going out there. The last thing I want to touch on, again, started reasonably controversial, and I want to jump into this space. When we were at Pranafest, I had an opportunity to step into the world of medicinal mushrooms. Let's call them medicinal mushrooms. And so we went through that. So the first night, I pretty much had a gram of these mushrooms, and it was a nice experience. It wasn't overwhelming. It was pleasant. I had a lot of clarity. Colors were a lot clearer. I felt still reasonably in control and everything else. And we didn't have any more for the rest of the weekend. And because I'd purchased 5 grams, I didn't know what I was going to do with all those. But when I came back, Jackie and I made a decision. Let's go away for a weekend. Let's see where we go on this journey. Let's connect into, because we've heard that with the ability of medicinal mushrooms, you have the ability to connect outside of yourself and have a true connection with your spirit. So we went and got a Airbnb, a little 1-bedroom tin shed in the middle of someone's farm. So we were actually away from everyone. It had an outdoor fire. We set ourselves up. We went through a ceremony. We went through a ritual, and we leant into that space. And we had a couple of grams each. I can't talk to Jackie's journey, but I can talk to my journey. And it was an amazing out-of-body experience. For me, it was about a 4-hour journey. Trust me, it felt like a 12-month journey. We're listening to songs, but the song, every chant song. So we had this playlist full of chants, Native American, Australian, different chants that would come up and different music. And it was like that was the soundtrack or the theme track to this 2-hour movie that I was in. And I was just watching and witnessing myself go through all these different journeys. One of the things that took place, there's a few powerful things, apart from going through that. One, I did basically find myself just melting and being part of the universe and disappearing. I know people talk about enlightenment and actually, basically not being there and being fully connected. But for me, I saw my body just melt into being light streams. And I was just traversing through light, just flying as if I was a light beam. And that was an amazing experience because that helped me understand that, I am just energy. I am just this energetic body. I'm not a physical body. I have an energy body that's contained within this physical vessel. What also happened was I had a lot of powerful spirits turn up. And so I'm talking like lions, snakes, a lot of these really powerful warriors and warrior faces actually appear. They merged into the unearthed man symbol. Now, you could say I'm biased and whether I manipulate this or not, but it doesn't really matter. But for me, that was a real experience. Because my question was, where am I going? What's my purpose in life? Where am I heading with life, and what do I need to be doing? What's my role here on this planet? And for me, that was very clear. I had all these warrior spirits turn up, eagles, as I said, all these warrior spirits in form turn up, and they all merged into the unearthed man symbol. And for me, okay, that's exactly, I'm on the right path. There is a reason why that symbol got created. There's a reason why that logo's there. There's a reason why I called it. That all came through me intuitively, and now I've got the backing of all these warrior spirits saying, we now need to continue on this path. And so we'll continue on this path, and I'll continue to lean into this space. The other thing that came up was my ability to see myself as a healer, as the ability to actually heal trauma, heal wounds, not physical wounds, but spiritual wounds, and be able to work with people from a spiritual, energetic level. And so that's something I'm going to explore, whether that starts with Reiki and then moves into kinesiology, but certainly that's something I want to explore. The other one that came up, which is sort of forefront of mind, was at the end when I was sort of, just coming out of it, I suppose. I was having a shower, and before I step into that space, when I did kinesiology, and I've been very open about this, for me, I'm very open to the fact that I've had many past lives. I saw, when my kinesiologist told me, he goes, the earliest past life that he can recall is me being in Egypt, in an Egyptian body about 2,000 years before Christ. So a long time ago, so 4,000 years ago. As part of this journey, I saw my soul in that first body. In fact, that person was so vivid. It was like I knew them, as if they were my brother, as if they were someone that was a close-knit part of my community. But it was a face I've never seen before. So I've never met this person before. I've never seen them before. But they appeared, and this was so real, as if they were standing right beside me in their full physical form. And I knew straight away who the person was. And I knew straight away exactly where they was. And this was the Egyptian person way back then. And so my soul, where I am now, connected back to the first recollection that the kinesiologist can recall, but also that could be the first recollection. And so I got to go back to that space. Interestingly, later on when I was having a shower, Jackie was in the bathroom with me, and a visualization appeared. And the visualization of Jackie was this beautiful lioness with a long, elegant nose, all in gold. This beautiful lioness, but in a human form. So so basically the head was this lioness, all gold coated, wearing, all this gold outfit. And it was just amazing. I'm like, wow, that was just really amazing. Again, very much from what the Egyptian time was. I've researched since then, and without even knowing this, and this is straight out honesty and transparency, I was not aware that in the Egyptian time there was a goddess called Sekhmet, and Sekhmet is the form of a lioness. And when you go and do image searches within Google about Sekhmet, most of the images are this lioness in gold. And I'm like, that blew me away. The fact that I saw my partner, my soul partner, actually as being Sekhmet, the goddess. Now, I'm not here to misappropriate any of the goddesses or the Egyptians or what's going on. All I know is that I met myself back in Egyptian times, and then I met my goddess and I visualized her. Now, I had never seen an image of Sekhmet until the next day where we did some research when I was talking about it at breakfast, and the image was over there. I have never seen that image before. Maybe subliminally I have somewhere, but that was a massive blow-away experience. And then the last one was just me seeing myself as this powerful, basically ripped, bodybuilding man. And so, again, this connection to body, this journey I'm going on with Steve feels real. Because I visualized myself. In fact, so much to the point where I actually felt I had to put my hands on top of my head and almost flex myself, sitting pretty much in the shower, and as if I had this bodybuilding body. It was just there, evident to me. So, again, some of these experiences were really huge for me. I will go on this journey. Now, I'm not here to purport the use of illicit drugs, if you like. I do support the use of plant medicine. I have always done that. I have cacao on a regular basis. If you are going to go down this path, be very careful. do it with intention, have all the research, and do everything you need to do. That's what we went and did, and we did it in a very safe, contained manner with a dose that we knew we could always be in control. So, for example, I was able to stoke a fire. I was able to do things. I had awareness of my body and what was going on. But when I chose to step outside my body, I could do that as well. So just have a think through. So anyway, that's pretty much where I'm at and what's been happening. So what does the next 6 months look like? As I said, I'm going to have a 6 to 8 week break in relation to the podcast just to give myself some weekends back. I'm actually going to Bali for a few days. This is going to sound bizarre, but I'm literally in Bali for about 48 to 50 hours. Why? Jackie's got a beautiful photography gig over there. She's at a retreat for 5 days, and the back end of that, she's got a couple of days off. I worked a few weekends ago as part of a cutover. Time and loop, so I'm hopping on a plane. I'm just going to go and spend a couple of days in Bali, which is going to be awesome. Coming up in August, Outback Spiritual Festival, 26th, 27th August. I really implore everyone, get that road trip happening. Hop in the car and come and join us at the Outback Spiritual Festival. I'm running a men's workshop both on the Saturday and the Sunday. It's all about the male archetypes. It's going to be really cool. It's going to be fun. I'm really stepping into this space. I think you'll love the workshop. So again, jump into that space. Back at the podcast interviewing men. I'll probably interview about a dozen men before we close out the year. And I'll have an intent that I'll run another free coaching session and revamp my 8-week program, and also get ready to rerun that new 8-week program. But from an exciting point of view, I'm going to actually be announcing pretty soon. I've already got a 6-week fully recorded, fully online program. It currently is the underpinning basis of my current 8-week program. Exciting news for people coming in that space coming up. So keep an eye out on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook as to what's happening in there. You won't believe the offer I'll end up putting on the table, but I can guarantee you if you take up the offer and you jump on and do this program over the 6 to 7 week period, it will definitely change your life, because that's all the feedback I'm getting. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up there, because the other thing while I'm recording this is we're doing a cleanse at home, cleansing out the closets, cleansing out, all the old clothes we weren't wearing. So it's, again, part of that connection back into minimalist. What's the minimum we need to live? What's the minimum we need to survive? That's where I'm at. I'm loving life. I'm loving all the connections. I'm loving all my listeners that are listening in this podcast. I hope you really do get a lot out of it. So for me, as I said, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, send me an email if you need to. Love to get on a chat with you. If you jump on the website, stephenmilverton.com, there's a link to be able to jump on and just do a free call with me. Let's jump on a call. Let's have a chat about what I can do to help you, and come with the view that money is never an object. And this isn't about me saying, oh, by the way, you always find a way. I will work out a different way with you. I will work out a different energetic payment system that may not include money. As I said, we can transfer energy in many different ways. One is in the form of financial. The other one is there's other ways of actually doing it. And I will work with you to work our way through that. So that's it. Wrapping up now. I'm sending you much love and peace. Stephen, episode 73 out. I will catch you all in 6 to 8 weeks. Have a great day. Bye.